तव कथामृतं ताप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये बुरिदा जनाः. The nectar of the words is the life for those who are scourged by the world. The words which have been uttered by the knowers of truth, which wipe out sins, the very hearing of which is beneficial, which are beautiful, pleasing to the ears, pleasing to the hearts, which are inexhaustible. Those who recount them on the earth are the givers of plenty. Talks with Swami Vivekananda, page 86. Calcutta, 1897, at Balaram's house. Swamiji was talking about Rig Veda with his disciple Sharat Chandra Chakraborty. He was praising the commentary of Shayana, and he mentioned perhaps Max Muller is the reincarnation of Shayana, and how Max Muller spent 45 years to translate the Rig Veda, which he took 25 years to prepare the manuscript and 20 years to print the manuscript. So he was involved in one book 45 years. So Swamiji praised Max Muller. He was talking about Shabda Brahma. Sound is Brahman. And he mentioned how the creation came from that Om. When all this talk on the theory of creation was going on, the great dramatist Babu Girish Chandra Ghosh appeared on the scene. Swamiji gave him his courteous greetings and continued his lessons to the disciple. Shabdas are again divided in two classes, the Vedic Shabdas and those in common human use. I found this position in the Nyaya book called Shabda Shakti Prakashika. There the arguments, no doubt, indicate great power of thought, but how the terminology confounds the brain. Shabda, sound. The whole creation came from sound. Nama and Rupa. As I always tell people, Sat Chit Ananda, that is Brahman. Nama Rupa Maya, Shakti, Divine Mother. So Shabda means sound is Shakti, power. The words really have power. If I praise you, you will smile. If I blame you, you will frown, you will be crying. So you see, it is all sound. The whole world is moving through sound. A sound has four parts: para, pashyanti, madhyama, vaikhari. Para means the Supreme Brahman, the source of the sound. Pushyanti means Ishvara, God state. Unmanifested sound. Then it comes to Madhyama. At that time, which is in the mental condition, in the mental plane, in the thought plane. Sound is vibrating, but not expressed. Then, when I express it, it is called Vaikhari. So, this is the way they found the sound has tremendous power. The sound can create, sound can destroy. And that's all the sound came from that Om. Om, etadalammanam brahma, etadalammanam gatva brahma loke mohiyati. See, Om is the Brahman, Shakti. You know, when we repeat our mantra, that mantra is connected with God. That mantra takes us to God, the form of God. That mantra vibrates. Those who do ajapa japam several thousand times a day, the japam goes into their system. Even unconsciously, when you are sleeping, japam continues. You know, that is the reason Sri Ramakrishna mentioned in one place, রাখালের ঠোঁট সবসময় নড়ছে. When Rakhal Brahmananda, he was practicing japam, all the time his lips are moving. Sri Ramakrishna used to watch his disciples. Through this repeating mantra, one can hear the anahata dhuni, the uncluttered sound in the heart. Swamiji was talking all those things, Shabda, Shukti, Prakashika, Vedic Shabda, Lokik Shabda. Lokik Shabda means, hey, I'm hungry, give me food. Lokik Shabda. Or I am going to office, or I am going to the market, or any sound connected with the world, that is Lokik Shabda. Loka Vyavaharu. Day to day we function through words. I am going to bed, please clean the house. These are all Lokik Shabda. And Vedic Shabda, the sound is connected with mantra. It comes through Gayatri Chanda, Gayatri, mantra. Then Trishtup Chanda, Jagati Chanda. This thing, the Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, this sound manifested in these three classes. There are three kinds of mantras. Anyhow, it is a long subject, this Shabda Brahma. Shabda sound also must be connected. Let me give an example. Ba, then 5 minutes I kept quiet. Pe, again 5 minutes I kept quiet. Lo, 5 minutes I kept quiet. What did I say? Ba, fe, lo. Then immediately image came to your mind. Buffalo means, oh, that animal we saw in the zoo or in the field, buffalo. If it is too long, sound doesn't bring meaning. And if it is too buffalo, that also. Sound must have a rhythm. They call it chanda. Buffalo. Buffalo. So when you repeat the mantra has a rhythm. If it should not too fast, it should not too slow. I'm just telling you that how sound works. Some people speak so slow, and some people speak so fast. It is hard to understand. Blah, 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 blah. I do not know what you're talking about. Go slow. And if it is too slow, that is also not good. Rhythm, chanda. You know, sometimes some people speak, we do not understand what that person is talking about. And some people speak so clear. They call it Bhakshuddhi. Bhakshuddhi means, do you know what Bhakshuddhi means? Means purification, that your pronunciation must be very clear. All the sound, do you know what? Tejomoyi Bhak. All this power of the words come from Tej, fire, in your system. In your abdomen there is a Jataragni. Say fire and the air, they heat, that is the way sound comes. Some people mean. And what he is talking about, you don't understand. There is no power, there is no heat inside. And some people, tremendous heat. The Shabda comes with tremendous power, force. You know, I was just this afternoon, I was reading the Upanishad. In Chandogya Upanishad, they are talking about creation. Tribrit Karan. Tribrit Karan means your mind came from food, your prana came from water, and your body came from the earth. Annamayam, Mana, Tejomoyi Bhak, and Prithvi, from the earth came the earth, from the body came from this earth. Tejomoyi, Annamaya, Apamaya. Anyhow, so a Bhak sound came from the fire, heat in the body. I saw, if we hear the, he's from the evangelist in Austin, Texas. My goodness. What is his name? I forgot. John.
Osteen?
Huh?
Joel Osteen?
No. His name is John Hakaji or something like that. My goodness, he has 4 lungs. The way he shouts, my goodness, is a big body. Shh. The evangelists have tremendous power. Sound. Now Swamiji looked at Girish and said, now turning to Girish Babu, Swamiji said, what do you say, GC? Swamiji used to call him GC, that's the endearing word. Well, you do not care to study all this. You pass your days with your adoration to this and that gods. He did not translate properly. A Kesto Vishnu. Krishna, Vishnu, Swamiji distorted it. সারা জীবন কেষ্ট বিষ্ণু করেই গেলে কৃষ্ণ 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 বিষ্ণু 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 whole life he passed your মানে you are a devotee. Swamiji was teasing him. Girish Babu, what shall I study, brother? I have neither time nor understanding enough to pry into all that. But this time, with Sri Ramakrishna's grace, I shall pass by with greetings to your Vedas and Vedanta and take one leap to the far beyond. He gets you through all these stages because he wants to get many things done by you, but we have no need of them. Saying this, Girish Babu again and again charged the big Rig Veda volumes with his head, uttering all victory to Ramakrishna in the form of the Veda. Joy Vedarupi Sri Ramakrishna joy. Bas. That means I don't need to read it. I put the Vedas and Ramakrishna the same. I put on my head. then a big chunk is not translated into English. So I am going to sum up what is in that big chunk in Bengali. When Swamiji would speak anything, he wanted to emphasize that idea so vigorously that it would penetrate into the listeners, to the audience. And the audience would feel that was the only reality. When he used to talk about the knowledge of Brahman, people would feel that is the only goal, nothing else. But the day he wanted to talk about bhakti, devotion, or karma, karma yoga, or prosperity of the nation, how we can improve our country, whatever topic he would discuss, that topic becomes forceful, and that topic would penetrate into others' mind, and people would think that was the only real thing. It happened one day, Nivedita was confused. Oh, Swamiji, you told these things about knowledge yesterday, and today you are talking about bhakti, and next day you talk about karma. Swamiji said, Nivedita, that was yesterday. Today I changed my mind. That thought would become prevalent in the minds of the listeners, the audience. Today, Swamiji was talking only glorifying the Vedas. Veda means knowledge. Jnana Rashi. Jnana means knowledge has no birth. It is without beginning, without end. When some people say that Vedas are, Rig Veda was, according to Max, 1200 years before, 1200 BC. Our Balagangadhar Tilak says 6000 BC. So another Punjabi says, we don't care. Vedas is eternal. It is not limited by any time limit. It does not limited by any time. Girish Babu observed that the Swamiji's way of teaching, and then at that time Swamiji was a little thinking something different. Seeing the devotion of his Sri Ramakrishna disciple, putting the Vedas on his head, he says, Vedarupi Sri Ramakrishna is joy, victory to Ramakrishna, who is the embodiment of the Vedas. Thus, putting that, he put the Vedas down. And now Swamiji was watching him and was thinking, how much faith this man has. Sri Ramakrishna used to say he has 125% faith. Swamiji was thinking something different. Then Girish Babu began to speak. Hello, Naren, let me tell you something. Vedanta you read enough. Let me first read his translation. Well, Naren, hear me please. A good deal of study you have made in the Vedas and Vedanta, but say, did you find anywhere in them any way for us out of all these profound miseries in this country, all these wailings of grief, all this starvation, all these crimes of adultery, and many horrible things? He did not translate the thing which Girish said. Girish, listen what Girish said. এই দেশে ঘুর হাহাকার অন্নবা ব্যভিচার ভ্রূণহত্যা মহাপাতকাদি চোখের সামনে দিন রাত ঘুরছে এর উপায় বেদে কিছু আছে? Have you seen, is there any solution of the problems of our country, a lot of disappointment, poverty, lack of food, adultery, killing the embryo, mane abortion, mahapatak, many sinful acts, day and night we see in the society. Are there any solutions in your Vedas? That Girish said. অমুক বাড়ির গিন্নি এককালে যার বাড়িতে রোজ 50খানা পাতা পড়তো, সে আজ 3 দিন হাঁড়ি চাপায়নি। There was a woman very rich. Every day they had 50 guests, and now she is so poor. Last 3 days she has nothing to cook, no food to cook. Is these things in your Vedas? ওই অমুক বাড়ির কুলস্ত্রীকে গুঞ্জাগুলো অত্যাচার করে মেরে ফেলেছে। A housewife, some gunjas, some ruffians killed her. অমুক বাড়িতে ভ্রূণ হত্যা হয়েছে, there is an abortion in another house. Somebody cheated a innocent widow all her money and made her poor. Is there any solution of all these social problems in your Vedas? And Girish Babu was depicting all the dark sides of the society to Swamiji, sufferings of humanity. Swamiji was listening, and tears came from his eyes when he heard all these stories from Girish. So he did not want to show his emotion to the disciple and others, so immediately he left the place. He left the hall and went to his room. This portion also not in the saying this, he painted over and over again the horrid pictures of society. Swamiji remained perfectly quiet and speechless, while at the thought of the sorrow and miseries of his fellow men, tears began to flow out of his eyes, and seemingly to hide his feelings from us, he rose and left the room. Meanwhile, addressing the disciple, Girish Babu said, "Did you see Bengal?" Bengal means East Bengal fellow. Countryside people. What a great loving heart. I don't honor your Swamiji for being a Pundit versed in the Vedas, but I honor him for that great heart of his, which just made him retire, weeping at the sorrows of his fellow beings. Now, this portion also they omitted. Let me tell you. Disciple, Swamiji left, so disciple asked Girish Babu, said to Girish Babu, "Sir, we are reciting Vedas very well. Why did you come and disturb us? This Jagoter Mayar, Chai Bhasho, it is all this Maya business of the worldly things and the societies, all this. There are so much sufferings in humanity in this world, and he is studying the Vedas. Who cares the Vedas? Give up your Vedas and Vedanta." Girish was a heroic devotee. শিষ্য, আপনি কেবল হৃদয়ের ভাষাই শুনতে ভালোবাসেন. You only love to hear about the heart. You are a large-hearted person, that is the reason. But when we discuss these scriptures, we forget this world. And you do not see what a great benefit we get from discussing the scripture. Otherwise, you ruined our conversation, our beautiful class. Girish, বলি জ্ঞানের প্রেমের পৃথকতা কোথায় আমায় বুঝিয়ে দে দেখি. Could you show me Where is the demarcation line between the knowledge and devotion? Look, your guru, the Vivekananda, Swamiji, he is a Pundit and Premik. He is a great scholar and he is a great devotee, great Premik, lover. তোর বেদও বলছে না সচ্চিদ আনন্দ, your Veda says Brahman is existence, consciousness, bliss. These three are the same thing. এই দেখ না, এই স্বামীজির এত পাণ্ডিত্য প্রকাশ করছিলেন, এই স্বামীজি was showing his, his erudition, his knowledge to you, discussing the Vedas. But যেই দুঃখের কথা শোনা, মনে পড়ে উনি জীবিত, the moment he heard the sufferings of humanity, he began to cry. So, what is the difference between knowledge and devotion? Can your Vedas and Vedanta can differentiate between knowledge and love? But if they can do that, that Vedanta, let it be on my head. I don't care for it. শিষ্য নির্ভয়ে বা সত্যি তো? Then the disciple was thinking, Girish said the right thing. Knowledge and love, there is no difference. In the ultimate place, love and knowledge both become one, unified. Love, lover, beloved, knowledge, knowable, and knower, knowledge, knowable, all three become one. So Girish is right. Meanwhile, Swami Vivekananda came back. And then he asked the disciple, meanwhile, in the meantime, Swamiji returned and asked the disciple, well, what was all this talk about going on between you? The disciple said, sir, we are talking about the Vedas, and the wonder of it is that our Girish Babu has not started this book, but has grasped the ultimate truth with clean precision. Disciple admitted that Girish's argument is right. Swamiji, all truths reveal themselves to him who has got real devotion to the Guru. He has hardly any need of studies, but such devotion and faith are very rare in this world. He who possesses those in the measure of our friend here, Girish, need not study these scriptures. But he who rushes forward to imitate him will only bring about his own ruin. Always follow his advice, but never attempt to imitate his ways. Swamiji cautioned about Girish. It happened during Sri Ramakrishna's lifetime. Girish and Ram started to preach. Ramakrishna is God. We have seen God, we have touched God. So we will not have to practice any spiritual disciplines. That they started to preach. Swamiji cautioned, don't do that. Sri Ramakrishna asked us to practice spiritual disciplines. You are talking about on the basis of your faith. If everybody tries to go follow you, they will be in utter destruction. They will ruin their lives. By Guru's grace, you have that faith. Don't, Swamiji was cautioning his disciples, don't imitate him. সর্বনাশ হবে। Listen to him, that he is a Murtiman Vishwas. He is an embodiment of faith. Disciple, yes sir. Swamiji, no, saying ditto merely, do grasp clearly the words I say. Don't nod assent like a fool to everything said. Don't put implicit faith even if I declare something. First clearly grasp and then accept. Sri Ramakrishna always used to insist on my accepting every word of his only after clear comprehension of it. Walk on your path only with what sound principle, clear reasoning, and scripture all declared as true. Thus, by constant reflection, the intellect will become clear, and then only can Brahman be reflected therein. Do you understand? Swamiji is cautioning his disciple, do not accept anything without proper understanding and conviction. And because I say, then you will accept it. No. And Swamiji himself said during Vedanta, I fought with my guru for 6 years, so I know every inch of the way. And through discussion, now I have a firm conviction that he was talking about. Yes, sir, I do. But the brain gets puzzled with the different views of different men. This very moment I was being told by Girish Babu, what will you do with all this studying? And then you come and say, reflect on what you hear and read about. So what exactly am I to do? Swamiji, advice of both has been given from different standpoints. There is a stage of spiritual life where all reasonings are hushed. Mukha swadhanavat, like some delicious taste enjoyed by the dumb. And there is another mode of spiritual life in which one has to realize the truth through the pursuit of scriptural learning, through studying and teaching. You have to proceed through studies and reflection. That is your way to realization. Do you see? It depends upon individuals. You see, Adhikari Veda. It happened in Belur Math. One young man came and said, Swamiji, I like him very much. Why? You do not believe in superstition. There is, bathing in the Ganges, one becomes pure, dying in Banaras, one gets liberation. Swamiji said, what do you mean? I drink Ganges water every day to purify myself. I believe it. The young man was confused. Then another person came and said something, and Swamiji said, my goodness, I believe those things. Then the liberation, the other thing, that one wasn't coming to my mind. The other person says, but I do not like this Hindu, their Kusanskar. The other says, I do not believe this. Hindus worship these images. But I believe those things. So he was confused. Then Swami Shuddhananda says, Swamiji, what is my way? I am confused. You said something here different, and here you said something different. What is my way? Guru Seva, you serve me. That way you will get liberation. He told Swami Shuddhananda. Just serve me. Swamiji is something. Receiving such a mandate from Swamiji, the disciple in his folly talk, folly, took it to imply Girish Babu's discomfiture, and so turning towards him said, do you hear, sir? Swamiji's advice to me plainly is just to study and reflect on the Vedas and Vedanta. Girish Babu, well, you go on doing so. With Swamiji's blessing, you will indeed succeed in that way. You follow your Guru's advice. Swami Sadhananda arrived there at that moment, and seeing him, Swamiji at once said, "Do you know, my heart is sorely troubled by the picture of our country's miseries GC was depicting just now. Well, can you do anything for our country?" Sadhananda was Swamiji's first disciple, who was a station master in Hathras, in UP. During Swamiji's itinerant days, Swamiji stayed with him for a few days, and then he resigned from his work and followed Swamiji and wanted to be his disciple. He was Swamiji's first disciple. Sadhananda, Maharaj, let the mandate once go forth. Your slave is ready. Banda tayyar hai. Banda means not slave, servant. A servant and slave, what is different anyhow. Your servant is ready, sir. Whatever you will do, ask me, do, I shall do. Swamiji, first on a pretty small scale, start a relief center where the poor and the distressed may obtain relief and the diseased may be nursed. Helpless people, having none to look after them, will be relieved and served there, irrespective of creed or color. Do you see? Do you understand? Very clear. Relief. You see, Ramakrishna Mission does a lot of relief work. Wherever there is a flood, famine, drought, national calamities, tornado, there we go and relieve them. We build homes, we raise money and take care of them, food. There is a big department called Relief Department. Some Swamis are engaged, is designated to look after the Relief Department. They have cars, their foods also, always they keep some food ready. One day they gave me some salt and sugar together, one packet. If there is any, some places, dehydrated, they serve all those things. Uncle, what do you serve? They gave me a bunch of those packets. Swami, put it in a glass of water and drink. Salt and sugar. Anyhow, they have all kinds of food. Flattened rice, puffed rice, some cookies, biscuits, rice, lentil, kerosene oil, stove, blankets, clothes. All these things are huge. They accumulate in one warehouse. The moment anything happens, we have truck. Immediately some Swamis will go and immediately they start relief. They put them in a school building, high building, and from there until the rain or flood goes away, they serve them. Anyhow, this is a huge operation that Swamiji is talking about in 1897. Sadhananda, just as you comment, sir, Swamiji, there is no greater dharma than the service of living beings. If this dharma can be practiced in the real spirit, then mukti kara phalayate. Liberation comes as a fruit on the very palm of his hand. Swamiji is promising, you will get liberation serving others. service, serve human beings as God. Addressing Girish Babu now, Swamiji said, do you know, Girish Babu, it occurs to me that even if 1,000 births have to be taken in order to relieve the sorrows of the world, surely I will take them. If by my doing that, even a single soul may have a little bit of his grief relieved, why I will not do? Why I will do it? Single soul may have a little bit of his great relieved. Why I will do it? Well, what avails if all to have only one's own liberation? All men should be taken along with oneself on that way. Can you say why a feeling like this comes up foremost in my mind? There is one school in Vedanta. They call it Eko Jivobad. One soul, Hiranagarpa. He will not take liberation until he takes all people with him. It is a school. Eko Jivo. The first Jiva, Sabai Pratamo Shariri, that is Hiranagarpa, from Ishvara. He is the Jiva, subtle body, sum total of subtle body. He waits there. After liberation, he does not want to merge into Brahman. He waits that I shall take all human beings with me, then I shall go into Brahman. They are Nitya Mukta Jeev, ever free souls. They come to this world again and again to liberate others, without any motive, without any ulterior purpose. That he was talking about, Mukta Purush. Otherwise, one's own liberation, that is selfishness. That Swamiji did not like. I want my own liberation. Swamiji did not like those people at all. Sometimes he used to scold his disciples. Day and night you think about yourself, you will go to hell. Think of others. But Girish Babu, that thought comes to my mind. As Swamiji told you in San Francisco, Madam, I would have to be born again. Why, Swamiji? Because I fell in love with human beings. আমি মানুষকে ভালোবেসে ফেলেছি. I love human beings. When I see other sufferings, I get pain, suffering. It happened. Swamiji was in Darjeeling, went for a change. A Bhutia woman was carrying a bunch of wood on her head. These poor people, they gather wood in the jungle and they sell it in the market as a firewood. That is the way they make their living. So she was carrying that wood on his, I think on his back or on his head, on her head, and she stumbled and fell. And Swamiji was walking. She cried out, "Oof, pain, pain." That is called ekatmanubhuti, experience of that oneness. That woman's pain Swamiji experienced. If you are a knower of Brahman, you will get a lot of joy, you will get a lot of pain also. Girish Babu, তা না হলে কি তিনি তোমাকে সকলের চেয়ে বড় বলতেন? Girish Babu said, otherwise why should Sri Ramakrishna declare you to be the greater than all others in spiritual competence? Saying this, Girish Babu took leave of us all to go elsewhere on some business. This section is, all the biographers use this section in their books. Swami Sharachandra Chakraborty's record, all biographers used it. It just shows a special aspect of Swamiji. We shall stop here tonight. Otherwise, the other section will be very interesting. Tonight is our first class. Now our class will continue. I like this book. If you read this Bengali, his conversation, it is so forceful. Translation does not express that force. It is so forceful, Bengali. All right, good night. See how many people watch your live streams?
11 are there.
11?
Yes.
Good.
More by tomorrow.
The other day, what happened?